guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of Blake and Blake Sports here live at Ferg's 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell. We got Ren Dax in the house of Pewtercast, correct?
Correct.
That's right. There you go, Ren Dax, and of course Rhett Matthew, which he didn't flinch there when that Sam Ash sign just fell, of course.
I felt attacked.
I'm telling you.
Under fire, man. I have to take off.
And of course, this is brought to you by Sam Ash Music, 926 McMullen Booth Road in Clearwater. Fellas, it has been a busy week here talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with McCoy's exit and now Ndamukong Suh in his press conference yesterday, and then his comments. And I tell you what, let's start it off with those comments and care of the Tennis Network and what he said, and then we'll get into it. We'll talk about what you guys want to talk about here live on Blake and Blake Sports. So let's get to it here. Let's get to his comments, and then we'll come back. Here we go.
You excited about going to the Bucs? I know it's a little different to leave a Super Bowl team, go to a team that was 5-11 last year, but what's your level of optimism?
I'm very excited. I actually had the opportunity to talk very deeply with Coach Todd Bowles as well as Bruce Arians, two elite coaches that I've had great interactions with in years past, and I like being a part of things that you can build and be able to put them over the top, and hopefully my talent as well as all the other guys and other former Nebraskans, Levante David, we can play together and change the game there and get us to a winning situation.
All right, welcome back to Blake and Blake Sports here live at Ferg's. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell, Ren Dax, the Pewtercast, and of course, Rhett Matthew, Cannon Fire Podcast, and of course, 102.5 The Bone. There you go, CSB Brothers, of course. Special shout out to Shana King and, of course, Dave Collins here as well, doing our thing here on Saturday. So, you hear the comments. He's excited about joining the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Todd Bowles' defense had a press conference yesterday, basically saying he wants to be his own man, doesn't want to be in Gerald McCoy's shadow, and then he's asking to wear 93. So, Blake, I know you've been passionate about this. Go ahead. You got your platform. Go for it.
Well, what do you want me to say, Peter?
Oh, I want you to tell me what you think of this situation with the Ndamukong Suh.
I never cared about the jersey number.
Okay.
Suh originally wore 90 in Detroit, so I mean, I think it's a little too early. McCoy's not exactly retired to even worry about not playing his number. We're still worried about what team he's going to, so the number issue really isn't an issue to me.
Okay.
Because for one, McCoy's not retired, and two, Suh's destined to be here in 2020. He could be done after this season, for all we know.
Yeah.
That's why it's not really a big issue, as far as some people made it out to be the Mike Allstott number with Devin White. I was a huge Mike Allstott fan, and it wasn't just because of the play on the field. It's what this man was, period, altogether in the Tampa Bay community. Much like what Warrick Dunn was as well for his community, and when he went to Atlanta, huge in the community. That's really the main reasons why I want some people's numbers untouched. For that reason. So I don't really have a huge thing about Suh and the jersey number. Now, if you're talking about Suh overall coming here, I think I pointed that out and made my point very clear last week. You had a 30-game head start on Gerald McCoy, and you only have a sack and a half more than him. So it's obvious that McCoy is a better pass rusher than you. Suh's a better run stuffer.
Right.
I think with that said alone, that's obvious.
Well, I think Suh fits better into this 3-4 defense.
Correct.
He has
experience.
more
experience.
Right.
Now,
exactly.
I never argued that.
Okay.
Or the $13 million.
Okay.
Not arguing that.
Okay.
Like I said before, my only big argument was that people period were putting Suh just so astronomically over McCoy, which clearly it wasn't the case.
Right. All right, Ren Dax here on Pewtercast, giving your thoughts about Ndamukong Suh being here, and I've asked everybody about what they think about Gerald McCoy and his legacy with the Bucs.
Well, I'm going to fire back at Blake here, and let's get this started.
All right, do it.
I love it.
You've seen the press conference, Ndamukong Suh press conference. I personally thought he handled the questions that were thrown at him, especially about his stomping on people and his relationship with Evan Smith previously.
Who's on the roster.
Who's on the roster, exactly. I thought he handled those really well. And as I'm sitting there watching that interview, thinking to myself, Gerald McCoy would not answer those questions as well as Dominic Sue did because we know he's so thin-skinned. So let's talk about sort of the person and that type of leadership role, because that's what I've always banged McCoy about. Very good player to a good player to a very good player. Want him on my team. I hate his leadership. I think he's terrible at it, and I don't like his thin skin. So what do you think of the Sue interview?
I agree with you, and I absolutely think you make a valid point with McCoy's thin skin. You know, he was asked about it yesterday. Again, he said he wanted his own spot, but when he was asked by Jenna Lane, I don't know if you guys caught these comments, but I think when you look at people in general, you got to get to know him. You got to have FaceTime with them. You got to be able to have the opportunity to interact with them. Before you pass judgment on somebody, you always take the time to get to know them, meet them, have coffee with them, whatever it may be, and then you'll be able to go from there. I think when people have blips of me, it's been in a negative light rather than a positive light, and that's due to outlets of media, social media, and whatever it may be. I can deal with that because I know who I am as a person. I know who my parents are and what kind of child they brought up. It's irrelevant in my life. I think the people that know me the best see me always in a good light and see the troubles and tribulations that I've gotten through as a human being, and what they go through in their lives. Rhett, what do you think of the comments by Sue yesterday press conference? I thought he handled it pretty well, and like Ren said, he's not thin-skinned like Gerald McCoy, right?
Right, yeah, and we can talk about the comments where he brings up that he's a nice person once you get to know him, and I think that's awesome. But I think, for everyone here and everyone watching at home, the most important thing is what he can bring to the field. And speaking of comments that he had brought up during the press conference, one of the things that I like the most that I heard him say, he's a guy that takes pride in being versatile along that defensive line. He had mentioned during his time in LA, he played defensive end. They threw him in at nose tackle. He can play the 3-tech, the 9, 7, 6, wherever they need him. And I think that's absolutely awesome, especially when just this time last week we were talking about who's going to garner the double team, especially with him next to Vita Vea. These guys can be a nightmare for the run game, but if you can mix and match and line them up in different ways that it's hard to stop them, I mean, I'm excited to see that and how that translates.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited, too, to see both of those players on the field together with the Vita Vea and an Ndamukong Suh and how basically they would work out. But I know that you're a guy that likes film and you like comparisons. The NFL Network just had something on, and they break down the comparison. We'll play that, and then we'll come back, and we'll get everybody's thoughts on this. Here we go.
Marlon, you obviously know defensive tackles. McCoy's been a pretty good one for a while. The team that signs him, what are they getting?
Well, you're getting a guy, he still has something in a tank. He's very versatile inside. He plays the run well. He plays the block well, the pass well. If you take a look at a few of the plays here, we'll toss it over here in a second so you can see what I'm saying. Look at McCoy on this play here. Able to play right there against New York, hands inside, taking on the double team, able to stay the course and make a tackle for loss. Still well on the run game. Hello, somebody. Talk to me now. And then here on the pass game, we have a little ET game here. He's able to sell it a little bit, take it around, bam, they sell a tackle, and then look at how explosive he is. Boom, right on Nick Foles. So he still has something in the tank. I think he is valuable. We do know a lot of this has to do with, again, the money that they saved, $13 million that they saved. So it was more about that as opposed to his talent and how much he have left.
Set to make $13 million this year, and Ndamukong Suh obviously signed to play the same position for $9 million, so they're saving some money there. Do you agree with him that there's a lot left in the tank, or are you seeing any kind of decline?
Well, I think there is some left in the tank. I do agree with you. I think this was a financial decision, but far too often I didn't see those plays that you just showed. I didn't see that happen enough with McCoy. I needed to see that happen over and over and over again. The last I saw Ndamukong Suh on the football field was this past year's playoffs. He was dominant in the playoffs. He always required two bodies to require their eyes looking at him on every single play, right? And sometimes you can look at the stats, of course. I think Gerald McCoy has better stats over the last over last year, but this kid, Ndamukong Suh, he was playing next to probably one of the most dominant defensive players in the National Football League right now. So the numbers will go down. When you're the talent of Gerald McCoy, I don't need to see you doing great things when everything is going right. I need that player to step up when things are going bad. And far too often, it just seemed like he played well when the team was going well, and he played bad when the team was playing bad. My impact players need to be the difference as to why we're winning, not the difference as to why we're losing.
And welcome back to Blake and Blake Sports here live at Ferg's on Central Avenue, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell of Blake and Blake Sports. Of course, Ren Dax of Pewtercast, and of course, Rhett Matthew of 102.5 The Bone. And of course, Cannon Fire Podcast can be seen here on Bucks Report. All right. What I take out of that is Michael Robinson's comments of McCoy still having something left, and you could see the film, boys, but also he says when things are going good, McCoy is going good. But when things are going bad, you don't see McCoy. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I mean, I don't know what he's getting at. I can say that for a lot of people. Your whole defensive line has to produce
right.
for you to succeed as well. It's not just a one-man show. If that was the case, then everybody would just draft one defensive tackle and rely on him to do all the work.
Okay. All right. Ren?
Let's not sort of. I feel like we're all piling on Blake here because he seems to be the only McCoy sympathizer amongst us four. Let's not. We're sort of splitting hairs here.
Right.
Okay. Like we're trying to give that little oomph to the guy that we like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from sitting here for like 10 minutes, obvious to me that us three, the paler of the contestants up here, we are Sue fans. Blake is a McCoy fan. So.
I like Sue for the record.
But this is something that I've said. It's the Buccaneers have lost a 6-time Pro Bowler, a 3-time All-Pro, and
right.
replaced him with a 2-time All-Pro and a 5-time Pro Bowler. And it's a lateral move. So as a Bucs fan, you're basically just getting the same exact player statistically that's just like better at stopping the run, and not quite as good at getting to the quarterback. So as
right.
a Bucs fan, once we put this all to bed and the training camp starts and we start to see some games, really what we have is what we had earlier, except for $3.5 million cheaper.
Well, and not only that, 3.75, so you're better with the cap situation. Gerald McCoy hasn't signed yet, so you're not sure what he's going to get.
Right.
But that's neither here nor there at this point. You have Sue in the house. I think, attitude-wise, culture shock, right?
For the record, I do like McCoy because he was great in this community, and he's one of our guys. That's why I like him.
Right.
I like Sue always. It's just his off-field stuff, but he got out of that and kept himself out of trouble. So
sure.
I'm not holding that against him anymore. He grew up a little bit.
Right. And I go back to the comments of Bruce Arians the other day. He wants to see that look when he was picking up penalties. He wants that to rub off on some of these guys, right?
That hungry look.
Right.
That you want to kill somebody look. I get it.
Right.
That's why I liked Sue at the beginning. And I remember when he was a free agent, Bucs fans didn't want him when he was a free agent. Oh, he creates too many penalties. Oh, he's a dirty player. Now you want him when he's 30. It's too late now. But when he went to Miami back then, he so underperformed in Miami with that contract. It
made a Pro Bowl in Miami.
I remember at one point it was
made
week
a Pro
6.
Bowl there for 3 weeks.
It's voted by the fans.
He was there for 3 years.
I don't take Pro
made a
Bowls
Pro Bowl.
serious.
How do you underachieve? Made a Pro Bowl. 3 years.
I don't take
made a
Pro
Bowl
Bowl serious because Clay Matthews
made
the Pro Bowl.
Serious.
Well, Clay Matthews made the Pro Bowl and didn't play all year.
If you don't take Pro Bowl serious, then you can't talk about Gerald McCoy's Pro Bowls.
I didn't mention his Pro Bowls, did I?
I watched you last week. I watched you perform. For the money he was paid, yeah, maybe he did. But I'll tell you what, he made a Pro Bowl. He was there 3 years and made a Pro Bowl, and that team was a dumpster fire, and you know it was. The team, same thing if you're going to say, it's not Gerald McCoy's fault he's never been on a playoff team. Well, it sure as hell wasn't Sue's fault that the Dolphins were a train wreck when he was there.
They were. I'm not going to doubt that.
It seems like the Dolphins every year are a train wreck, and that starts with some of the players they picked up. Of course, Richie Incognito getting signed to the Los Angeles Raiders. We'll talk about that. Go ahead, Rep.
If the Raiders are not on Hard Knocks this year, then I don't think there is a team like I don't know if you guys can agree with me, but there isn't a team I want to see more on Hard Knocks this year than Gruden and the Raiders.
Yes.
Oh, that mess out there. Just the Antonio Brown show. And we talk. And Mike Robinson kind of backtracked on himself as well. He said, "I know Sue's numbers are going to go down when he goes to Tampa." Why would they go down? Because you're going with less talent in Tampa. So
Well, it's unproven. I mean, you have a young player in Vita Vea
he made
who.
valid points. It's not consistent. I've never argued that.
Right.
I've never argued that.
Right.
I've never argued the money. I've never argued what Rex said earlier about his leadership. Well, I think we talked about that.
Sure.
I think McCoy felt like he had to be that guy, step up, beat his chest, put the S on his chest.
Did he have to be or did he want to be?
Yep. Well, I can't answer that, but he probably wanted to be. And he probably thought he had to.
I think he was put in a situation since day one. I think he was drafted
that high.
I think they expected him to be that guy for a really long time, and maybe he did perform for a little while, but
and then in the end, his leadership wasn't that strong.
Right.
I haven't argued that either.
And I was
just been quiet.
Right, but I always say this to everybody with the whole thing with McCoy and losing him, and people say, well, they lost Quan, they lost McCoy. They're not going to be a good defense now.
I called that from the get-go.
Well, yeah, I know you called it, but I'm amazed that people say, well, they're treating them like they're great players from 2002. This defense, guys, was god-awful the last 5 years with both of those players. So at this point, I think Bruce Arians, Jason Light were ready to move on and see what they had, and I definitely think Sue is an upgrade over McCoy because he's going to fit in it. He's going to bring some attitude, some swagger, as a lot of people like to use. And like Arians said with his comments going back to him, he wants that attitude, that aggressive nature to rub off on some of these players going forward. And what you're watching right now is Blake and Blake Sports here live at Ferg's 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell, Rendax, the Pewtercast, and of course, Rhett Matthew there of Fire Cannon Podcast, and of course, 102.5 The Bone. All right, so let's read some comments here from Bucks Report. Mike says thoughts on Twins broadcaster Bert Blyleven calling for the destruction of Tropicana Field after the park stole another homer from Miguel Sano. Hey, it's a part of it. Bert Blyleven has his opinion. He can have his opinion. A lot of people want to destroy that stadium, but that is kind of the home field advantage for the Tampa Bay Rays, right?
The catwalk?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the most permanent home field advantage there is. Fans don't have to show up for our home field advantage.
And we can talk about the attendance because we did that. The first half of the Sports Web got some fans' opinions on that, so we can talk about that. Somebody says, let's talk movies. Robert Pattinson is the new Batman officially. Thoughts, everybody?
Got another Batman.
Ren?
I don't care. I don't
I'm
care.
with you on that.
I don't care.
I'm done. There's too many Batmans. I can't even remember.
I'll plead the fifth on that one.
That's right. I can't even remember.
And fans are just coming in here on Blake and Blake Sports Live here on Bucks Report. Rhett, what do you think? Robert Pattinson, Batman? Plead the fifth.
Well, who's going to
Plead the fifth? What's that all about? What are you, Mark McGuire over there? Come on, man. Get into that camera and talk about it.
No comment. I mean,
You gotta remember you gotta remember Rex 20. You don't remember all the Batmans.
Oh, hey, look, it can't be any worse than George Clooney, right? Or Ben Affleck?
I mean,
can
give him a suit where he can move his neck. Maybe those Clooney movies would have been a little better. But
All right, let's see here. Sue will be fine here. Johnny Dean, the professor, says. So now Sue is a great guy, and G-Mac is an a-hole.
Yes.
Laugh my ass off. As The Rock would say, it doesn't matter. It is what it is now. And he says he likes pie. That's interesting. Great. Sue isn't changing any culture, Peter H. Blake. The job is the head coach's. A one-year defensive tackle isn't changing the culture. Players buying into the coach is what changes the culture. You guys agree with that?
That's true.
yeah.
Yes and no. But because, here's the thing, and once again, I don't want to start dumping on McCoy, but I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
Like you can. Now that the move has been made, McCoy is gone and Sue is in. You can see that they were done listening to McCoy. They did not want his leadership there anymore.
Right.
They could have found the money. Or lack of leadership. They could have found the money. They didn't want him. Bruce Arians didn't want Gerald McCoy to be the mouthpiece for the organization and especially the defense anymore. So, I mean, they couldn't even find a spot for him.
Right.
And so they finally cut him. So is Sue going to come here and change the culture? A little bit. But why? Because the coach brought him in. So that comment is right and wrong.
Okay. All right. Rhett?
In my opinion.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with him on that.
I mean, changing the culture is something that people have said for years now. It's gone back to the season before last season, and it's all about changing the culture, bringing this team a different look. And like you said, I think Sue's going to do that a little bit, but I don't think he's going to single-handedly, like a lot of people seem to say, bring back the nasty to this defense that we saw 2002, 2003. I mean, it's a different league, and Ndamukong Suh, I don't want to say he doesn't have the pull, but I just don't think his method of doing things, I don't think we have to worry about something like that wearing off on another guy like, Devin White, Vita Vea, because a lot of people bring that up as well. Is his play style, is his attitude going to wear off on those guys? And I don't think so. I think maybe he'll do what he can, but ultimately I don't think he'll single-handedly do it.
Well, first off, for the record, he plays defensive line, so he wants to try to bring that aggression to the defensive line. He's not going to have a huge effect on the way Devin White plays. As Devin White doesn't play with power, he plays with speed.
Sure.
Right. And we're talking about the corners.
Right.
We're talking about all that. So I hope he brings a big nastiness to the defensive line, because I would love to see that back here in Tampa Bay with the dominant pass rush and the dominant just crushing pockets and making quarterbacks uncomfortable.
Put a jersey on.
Yep.
Put a jersey on.
Yep. Put a dirty and backup QB's jersey instead of letting them torch us for 300 yards. I'd be happy to see that back here in Tampa Bay.
You want to change the culture? Win.
That's it.
That's true.
I mean, that's what it comes down to: winning and losing, and
just win, baby.
just win. And look, the Bucs have a tough schedule as they do every year, but really, guys, it gets tough because from week 3 to 10, you're basically on the road. You have teams like the LA Rams, the New Orleans Saints, the Carolina Panthers in London, Seattle, and also Tennessee, I think, coming in that stretch. So it will really test the mettle of this team going forward and see where they're mentally at. I think it's a great tool. But, of course, losing JPP. Ren, I got to go to you. JPP, do you think he comes back, or do you think he's out for the whole year? And how big of a loss is that to this defense going forward?
How big of a loss? Well, that's kind of incalculable. We'll see what happens. We do know that Todd Bowles' defense can be versatile.
Sure.
So last year, as a Bucs fan, you think of JPP line up the outside rushing the passer. Even if he was here, he wouldn't be there all the time.
Sure.
So what he brought to the team last year, we're not necessarily going to miss because it doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Now, hoping that JPP comes back. Me as a Bucs fan, I've been following the Bucs since season 1. I have learned to guard myself, build my wall of expectations.
Right.
As a Bucs fan, I expect JPP not to come back.
Okay.
If he does, that's fine. But I'll tell you what. By the time he does come back, the season's already going to be decided.
Okay.
We're either going to be in the playoff hunt, or we're going to be like 3-8, 3-7. It's not. We're not hanging around This isn't baseball. We're not hanging around 500 and hope our star pitcher comes back after 3 months and we can make a playoff push.
Sure.
There's not enough games. So I hope he comes back, but I'm not counting on it.
Okay. All right, good stuff. Let's read some more comments here. And like I said, Rep Matthew, anytime you want to jump in, you let me know, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Back there on Cannon Fire Podcast.
I'm taking it easy. I'm honestly thinking about those chicken wings on the table over there.
I'm telling you.
They made their landing.
What are we doing? Somebody needs to go and get those chicken wings and bring them on camera.
You don't even got to tell me twice.
Okay, there you go. All right, Rep Matthew's going to go get the wings. One of the most important jobs. Who cares about him hosting? He's getting the wings here. We're live at Ferg's. He's getting the wings. That's it. All right, and we're here live at Ferg's on Central Avenue, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Whether you want to watch the Rays, update on the score right now: 1-0 Rays over the Twins.
1-1.
1-1. Torino's pitching.
2-1.
2-1. Rays or Twins.
2-1.
14-2, 14-3 last
Is that what they teach you at Connecticut School, to actually say who's winning instead of just the score?
No.
2-1. Who's winning, Ren?
Fired.
I don't know.
He comes right out here.
It's the Twins. I wasn't taking a shot. I was saying I did a bad job reporting the score.
You did. I was like 2-1. Who?
2-1. Who? The Bears.
The Bears. All right, so there you go. 2-1. Rays over the Twins. Okay. So we'll update the score here. Let's see some more comments. Misador says, wow, full house today. And, of course, if you want to get your comments on here as we're doing something new with the – yep. Email me, P. Blake. Will you shut up? P. Blake 1003, as those wings are in the shot there, at yahoo.com. We'll definitely play your takes on the Sports Web, the nightly show here, the evolution of sports talk television on Bucks Report. Right now, it's Blake and Blake Sports. What's your email? Are you gonna have them email you too?
Buck and Blake Sports at gmail.com. Y'all saw this week.
Okay.
Yeah, this week. I posted Misador's video and we talked about it. We're talking about Tom Moore.
Yep.
His long list of coaching history.
Yeah.
With tons of players from all eras.
Sure.
That's a history right there.
What's your thought on Tom Moore being a consultant? I know he's not a full-time coach, and he's only going to be with this team until training camp. And you've been out there, so I definitely want to get some of your thoughts, too, with training camp. But go ahead and talk about Tom Moore a little bit, Ren.
Well, I mean, I know basically as much as everyone as other Bucs fans do. Like, I didn't really know who the guy was. Then he gets hired, and I see that, that he's 80 and he's wearing cool sneakers, so I dig in a little bit of it.
White sneakers.
Yeah, white sneakers.
Well, that's how you got to roll.
Yeah.
You got to roll with the white. I mean, it's classic.
It's Florida.
Classic.
It's after Labor Day.
Yeah.
So, you start digging and you look at his resume and it is impressive. Now, what is he going to bring? I don't know. Am I glad he's there? Yeah, I am. But, we'll see. Right now, whatever Bruce Arians does, since we haven't played a game yet, we're undefeated. So whoever he does, I trust. Because, you know what? He's forgotten a lot more football than I'll ever know. I'm just some guy that has a microphone.
Well, that's okay, and that's all right, and we'll talk more about you being out there in camp. Hopefully try to get Bucks Report out there in camp here eventually.
I'll 6 a.m. I'll be out there.
You'll be out there? All right.
Yeah,
well, we'll see what we can work here. Keith Larson, of course, Ramblin' Tony Rossi in charge of that.
Oh, Lord.
So we'll see what happens with them getting us fully credentialed eventually. All right, let's see here. Suh sack numbers won't increase only due to scheme. It's not his job to sack the quarterback in the 3-4. Agree?
I already know he's going with that.
Well,
we said that last week.
Right.
Don't expect the sack numbers to be astronomical. Now, I know everybody's beating on me for the McCoy. That's fine. I love it. I like disagreeing with people. It's fun.
You're a masochist.
Yeah. I said that last week.
Does your girl know this?
Yeah, hold on. Leave it at this. I said the sack numbers ain't gonna be big.
Now we know who wears the pants in the family, huh?
It's gonna be It's gonna be penetration scheme.
Okay.
I think we can talk about.
Yes.
Will Golston's still on this roster.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him. Right? Yeah.
Well, you love Will Golston back there, right?
He flies under the radar, getting paid more than he should be getting paid.
He's a backup quarterback of the defensive line.
Enough
yeah,
said.
I mean,
I can't even respond.
And
that was good.
There was an article, gentlemen, that was just put out by Mark Magana on Bucks Report. What went wrong? What were some of the things that went wrong in 17 and 18 for them to have back-to-back seasons? And one of those was the extension to William Golston, because consequently, when they signed him to the extension that year, he had 0 sacks, as many as my co-host. Right.
Yep.
Combined. I mean, it wasn't even close. And I know that somebody on this panel could probably get a sack. Me. Just saying. Anyway. Yeah, you could, all right. You probably could. Ren, you probably got a sack in you, right? Right? You got a sack in you?
I had a few.
If he falls, I can touch him.
Potato
High
sacks.
school glory days. Oh, yeah.
I'll get that Michael Strahan record-breaking sack.
Where Brett Favre goes down?
He said, I got you.
Right.
It counts. That's a full sack, right, guys?
All right, let's read some more comments, and then we'll get back to it here on Blake and Blake Sports Live at Fergs. Quan is an average linebacker and all-pro self-promoter. Agree with that. Johnny says Peter H. Blake loves Suh. I love his attitude,
like Suh too.
And I think he fits better in this defense than Gerald McCoy, and I'm willing to see what he can bring to this defense, and if it improves, not only with Suh, but Devin White, Vita Vea, Carl Nassib, and also Todd Bowles running this defense, I think there's an improvement, and that's why if they could just be average at this juncture,
all right.
Right, I think you can win some more games. Yawn Movies, wake me up for a relevant topic. Hey, you make the topics here, Misador. Keith Larson loves Batman, but the question is, does Keith like Robert Pattinson as Batman? Who's your favorite Batman of all time, guys?
Oh, geez.
I'll start off. Christian Bale. Easy, right?
All right. Okay, that's solid. I'm going to go out of the box because that's what I like to do. I'm going to say the one from the animated series.
Kevin Conroy.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank
Very
you.
good.
Always
Okay, and then who? What about you?
I actually did like George Clooney.
You like George Clooney in that?
Like I said, put him in a suit where he can move his neck around. Those movies be twice as good.
Bale kills it, and then after that second, it's got to be Michael Keaton, just my opinion. All right, let's get back to sports here. Will Rojo make the team? I definitely think Rojo makes the team.
Yeah, for now.
He's got too many plans for him, man.
For now, at least.
Well, there's been a lot of talk. He's impressing coaches. Jason Light.
Good in them shorts.
Well,
Good. Shorts and T-shirts.
and care of Carmen Vitale of Buccaneers.com, Jameis Winston says that he's definitely showed out this year. He looks more comfortable. Gentlemen, do you guys buy Jones looking more comfortable and being an impact for this Bucs team going forward in 2019?
Well, he can't be any worse. Like, he can't. It's impossible.
Right.
Here's what I think what's going on with Ronald Jones right now. I think that Dirk Cutter shattered his confidence and his coaching staff. I'll put it all on Dirk's feet. And I think that Bruce Arians and his coaching staff, including Jameis Winston, anytime they mention his name unsolicited, and everything's always positive. And that's what they're doing with Ronald Jones right now. They're pumping him up and to see what he can be. Do I think he's a bust? No. Do I think he's going to be Kareem Hunt? No, I don't. But we don't know what we have. He admitted he came in and he didn't understand that he wasn't getting the ball. Like, okay, I'm a second-round draft pick. Where do I line up? Okay, talk to me week one.
Right.
But he couldn't pick up the blitz. His catching has been well documented. So a bounce back year it has to be, because it can't be any worse, because we talked about getting sacks. You put us 4 out there and give us 21 carries, like, we can't do much worse.
No, you can't do much worse.
Total yards, we can't do much worse.
Right, and you hope that this coaching staff, and I believe it with the size of it here, Rhett, that they're going to be able to get Jones ready for this offense, right?
Oh, absolutely. And this is, these are guys that we have seen a very, very good coaching staff. BA has already come out and said he has all these plans for Ronald Jones. And like you said, Ren, he really can't be much worse than he was last year. He barely saw the field. But Blake, I know you're a guy for watching film. Did you watch any Rojo film last year? When he was on the field, that offensive line gave him nothing to work with most of the time, correct?
It wasn't much tape to watch.
Right. I can count on both hands the amount of times he was on the field last season.
The highlight of Rojo's career was a touchdown in the preseason game where all the blocks fell into place and he fell in the end zone. At that point, we were confident that we drafted a decent running back. After that, you didn't know what the hell happened to Rojo.
Right.
And a lot of it's neck up issues with him. Like Rex was saying. I believe he didn't know blocking schemes. He didn't know what was going on. He came from USC where he could basically come out,
He had the space to work.
We're running a 48 sweep. All right, cool. He'll just come out there and do what he does. There's blocking. He beat the first guy and run downfield for 60 yards. NFL, it's a little bit more complex. You got to block and you got to be able to run. You got to do more than one thing out here. And I think, well, I ain't going to say I think. I don't know yet. They're in shorts and T-shirts. Hopefully, he's caught on that he needs to elevate his game from the neck up before he worries about just his athletic ability, because that's not going to get him by in this league.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
I remember another concern we had with him last year for the longest time, a legitimate concern, was it seemed like he didn't know how to catch a football.
You remember that series? I mean, he dropped it. He looked upfield, hit him in the chest, and dropped.
Yeah. He got to a point in his career as a football player where he couldn't out-athlete everybody anymore. And
I think that's dawning on him.
And now he has to work on his craft and be a professional.
Yep.
And we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll definitely find out. It's one of the remaining questions that you're going to have going into 2019, that running back stable with Peyton Barber. Even though getting 800 yards, can he be that every down back? Bruce Arians thinks highly of him. What's the status of Rojo? What about Andre Ellington? How does he fit in? And then also, you've been out there. Have you seen any of Bruce Anderson, Ren?
I have not, and here's what's different. I know that you could go to fan events, and I know you got to cover, some of it last year,
sure,
in the middle of the season, and you got really cool access to it.
Thank you.
When you go to training camp and I'll explain this, and sorry if it's not very clear, but you have the back of Advent Health Center Training Center, formerly One Buck Place, and then you have this concrete patio. And that's where you have to stand if you're quote-unquote media. Then right past the patio is the end zones of the 3 fields. Okay? Now, when they do individual drills or they're doing, kickoff coverage and punt and doing that stuff, everything's fine. But when they start to go 11-on-11s and 7-on-7s, Bruce Arians lines up the whole entire team in between the patio and the players.
Okay.
So you can't see.
Okay.
Like, you can't see who's running the ball. You can barely see who's quarterback. You can't see the safeties or the corners. Like, it's really hard to see. So I have not seen the guy that everyone's excited about, the Anderson undrafted free agent. But there is a fan event that I get to go to Wednesday, which is indoor practice facility, and they won't be able to do that. So I'll know more then.
Okay.
But, like, no music. It's just a really different vibe. And this is something that I think I can bring because I've been to an OTA, is it just seems like everyone's already pulling the boat, rowing in the right direction already.
Yeah.
Like, everyone knows what's expected. You feel like they know what they're doing. They look more in control. No one looks lost. There's tons of coaching going on. Perfect example. They would do like a defensive line drill last year, even the year before that, and they go, and McCoy would do it, and then whoever was second in line, who was the second best defensive lineman that year, would do it, and the coach would just kind of turn around and quit looking and start, looking at the water boy, and everyone's doing it. Now with these guys, they're on every single player, every single, and they stop it constantly. No, wrong foot, that foot forward. No, wrong hand, no, that hand's got to be up here. Every single player, no matter who it is, they're always watching, and there's like 3 coaches on each individual drill instead of just one. So
nice, and that makes a difference. That's got to make a difference.
And we went over how many coaches
Right,
out there.
right.
Now you got Sack coming on as a secondary coach now. So
I'm excited for that, man.
yeah, so I agree with that. Accountability has been the word of the offseason. Accountability.
Yeah.
And what you're watching right now is Blake and Blake Sports here live on Bucks Report. 61,000 following as people are walking by. That's okay here. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell, Rendax, the Pewtercast, and of course, Rep Matthew, 102.5 The Bone, and Cannon Fire Podcast, which can be seen here on Bucks Report. Join the 61,000 following, nearly to 62,000 following on Facebook. As I don't know if you guys. I know you guys know the big announcement, but during Buccaneer road games, we will be here live at Ferg's on Central Avenue, giving you the pre-half and, of course, the post-game shows, getting fans' responses. This is definitely a fan show where people can basically, talk about what they want to talk about having to do with the Bucs. So let's read some more comments here. Looks like the added muscle and his catching mechanics have been improved. Looks more fluid, a player being developed, go figure. Exactly. I think that's what it's all about here, gentlemen. It's about player development, which is what the Bucs have gotten away from, and that's why you've had 2 straight 5-11 seasons, because they haven't done enough in developing those players.
I don't think we ever got there, to be quite honest. I don't think we ever got there, to be quite honest.
Yeah, you got to put that mic up, because I don't know if it'll pick up.
I don't know if you've got it written down on the sheet of topics we can go over, but this is something I want to bring up.
Sure.
Nobody seems to be talking about Matt Gay nailing a 50-yard field goal to end practice. And
That was a development yesterday. We'll put that out there.
Early, right?
Yeah, Bruce Arians putting the pressure on him. Yep, 50-yarder, and then ended practice 1 hour early. How would you like to go to
that?
Yeah, I said last night on the Sports Web, look, if my other job gave me, 7 hours, if all I had to do was get a couple sales, I would definitely buy into that, even an hour off.
You said earlier that you could get a sack before anybody else at this table. I got a feeling you can nail a 50-yarder too. No problem.
What do you think? You can nail a 50-yarder?
It's not really as hard as it looks.
No.
It's not. I mean, with no one rushing and just on a tee, you can kick a 50-yard. It's not as far as you think.
You don't know unless the game situation. That's what you're looking at.
Put a helmet on? Probably not. No.
What are your thoughts?
Running at me? No.
What are your thoughts on Gay being, 5th-round pick? A lot of controversy out there. Jason Light doing the same thing that he did with Roberto Aguayo.
Sure.
He drafts a kicker, but you really have a legitimate kicking competition with Cairo Santos and Matt Gay from Utah.
Yeah. There's 2 schools of thought here. It's one, what's wrong with drafting a kicker in the 5th round? Because let's face it, not a lot of 5th rounders make it, stick around, maybe a year or two. Then
Sure.
they either wash out, or they get picked up somewhere else in free agency and end up being backups at that team.
At best.
Yeah. Or you get a guy in the 5th round that's going to be your all-time leading scorer, possibly.
Yeah.
So I do have a Matt Gay story, because I went to all the East-West Shrine practices that were down here at the Trop last year. because they're free and you could get in. So I just went in there and sat in the stands and watched it. And I didn't really know a lot about these guys. I get to see like Moorhead, the kid who's lighting it up for the Redskins right now, is a slot guy. He was somebody I was really excited about.
Okay.
That the Bucs would hopefully get in the later rounds. But Matt Gay was there. And all I remember is we've all heard the stories that it just sounds different coming off his foot. I remember being in that dome and just hearing this like boom. And I looked, I'm like, oh, so when that guy would actually kick, I would pay attention. Now I know I knew who he was. And I didn't even put together that was the same guy until someone said he was at the Shrine game. And I go, oh, yeah, that guy. And as far as someone standing out in Shrine practices and one of them happens to be a kicker, then, it was that's my story. If it works, it's a great pick. If it doesn't, you're going to be ridiculed.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. That's it. That's kind of like a Jason Light draft. I mean, he's hit on some, and then he's missed on some. People, they want to. Well, he's.
Robert Aguero, we always curse him.
Well, I tell you right now, there's a lot. Much has been made about Jason Light and his job security at this point.
He's done great with
I think he's
players.
Right. Well, he's hit some players and he's picked up some players, and then again he's missed. So. It's a big year for him. It's a big year for Jameis Winston, and I think for this whole entire coaching staff and for the team overall. They want to get off to a good start. They have a tough schedule, and we talked about it. And, they have to be productive because it is one of the toughest divisions in the NFC South with the Panthers, Falcons, and Saints.
The toughest to me.
Well, yeah, the AFC North now with the Ravens, the Browns.
I told you, every quarterback in our division besides Jameis have been league MVP and been to a Super Bowl.
That's a good point.
What other division has done that?
Tough. Well, Flacco won, but you're exactly right. The Browns are upcoming. They have a lot of talent.
We talk about it. They ain't done nothing yet.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Good on paper.
Good on paper. That's right. Paper champions, the old. Yeah.
Even mention that.
All right. Let's see. Todd Bowles will either bring back the nasty or not. Not one player will. Okay.
Not one season either. This is just a start.
Well, it's a win now. Look, you don't get Ndamukong Suh, you don't sign all these players to one-year contracts if you're not in a win-now mode.
Right.
And as the coach has said to the fan base, jump into the pool because we're going to win games. He's not coming in here to rebuild and all this other stuff. He's coming in here to win now.
Coming to reload.
That's it. Reload. That's it. Let's see here. Yes, different league for sure compared to 2002. You can't really be as nasty as they want to be. Can't go full aggression when you have to watch how you tackle players. Agree with that?
That's
to a certain right. Well, that's right. Defenseless players. Right, exactly. Yeah, but as far as quarterbacks and receivers, absolutely. DBs can't be aggressive as they want to be. You can't be as aggressive as you want to be against the quarterback. I get that part. But there's ways around that. I think Aaron Donald did it best. I love the way how he beat that system. I don't know if you guys paid attention to that much. He would grab the quarterback and literally just throw him to the ground so he wouldn't have to worry about him laying his body weight on him. You saw what I'm talking about? Yeah.
He would sling him to the ground so that argument wasn't even there.
Well, there was another thing. We were looking at the NFL Network package a little earlier. There was that one highlight. Ndamukong Suh, I don't remember the team they were playing, to be quite frank with you. But Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald chasing down the quarterback and then just one swift push to the ground, and that's it.
Be careful
Problem solved.
That. But yeah.
All right, let's see here. I think
in between chicken wings back here, man.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you, we definitely are going to end this show here in a little bit. Try to eat these chicken wings. We'll come back and talk with you more. I can't, man. Look, we're live at Ferg's.
Slow down. Make sure I save some for everybody else.
Will you shut up? We need to. You need to save a lot of those wings for me and everybody else here. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Rep Matthew, Blake Cabell, and of course Rendax of Pewtercast here on Blake and Blake Sports. Live at Ferg's. Of course, there is a concert tonight. Caskey with Black Four Sheep at 6 o'clock starting here, so get down here if you like some good music. And they've had Drowning Pool here before, and also Buck Cherry, and some big-time announcements coming. So we're going to continue to work with Mark Ferguson and Zeb here at Ferg's Sports Bar and Grill. Been around since 1992. All right, let's see. I think the Bucs have the potential to improve on every level of defense this year. I agree with that. If he does come back, how effective will he be? That would be JPP. 0 off-season thrown straight into mid-season. But really here, guys, with JPP, he knows his own body. Here's a player that's been through some challenges, although he made it and it was a personal situation. He did it to himself. But the most consistent pass rusher last year, to me, the only pass rusher on this team in JPP. I don't know what to think, but I think it's a tough situation where your defensive end, you're constantly engaged with an offensive lineman, and you already have a neck injury. I don't know how much he comes back, but even a 70 to 75% JPP is better than no JPP at all.
I think, excuse me, like I said, in between chicken wings back here. We'll take a break till we're done. I think with JPP, it's a funny situation. Like you said, he did choose not to have surgery. So if he's able to come back, it's going to be a little limited. And he's a guy that, with any football player, we saw it similar to Vita Vea. And I know it's a different situation. Vita Vea is a rookie coming into the league. JPP's a seasoned veteran, but you're going to need some in-game action to get your feet wet. So I don't think we're going to see 12-sack JPP right off the bat. And honestly, what I worry about the most is the re-injury. Because one wrong blitz, one wrong hit, one wrong rush off the edge, that's his neck, man. That's career-ending.
It's his life.
That's some heavy stuff. So
It is. It's a way of life.
I feel
right
about JPP coming back in and trying to work 100% immediately.
I'm with you. I'm not even going to pretend to act like this man's life is worth life and well-being is worth this season in 2019. I'm not even going to pretend. As a media person or a fan, it's ultimately that's up to him and how he feels. I'm not going to put no expectation on him and his neck injury.
And your opinion, guys, here, and we're live on Blake and Blake Sports here live at Fergs. Do you think there's a possibility where, let's just say, the Bucs figure out that JPP will not play the rest of the year? Do you think there's a possibility of where they would either cut him or go after that $7.75 million for their cap?
Yeah, I think there's a possibility. I think the greater possibility is that he doesn't play and maybe never play ever again.
Wow.
As a Bucs fan, and I'm gonna reiterate what I said earlier, is like just act like JPP's not on the team. If he shows
That's
up,
what I've done.
Yeah, if he shows up in November, be super happy and see what he does. Maybe he can, hopefully, we have a winning record then. Maybe he can help with the playoff push. But if you're looking at JPP in the plans as a Tampa Bay defense this year, just don't, because he's not there. He's not going to play. He's not, and he probably may never play again. Now, what the Bucs do with his salary, JPP's made plenty of money. If they cut him, I'm not going to start a GoFundMe for the guy. He's going to make it. I think that the Bucs, in their heart of hearts, hope that JPP can play next year, and that's what they're looking at.
Okay.
There's ways to make the salary cap where they can squeeze by this year. We know at the cap they get a much softer cap or a bigger cap next year, and so bringing in more high-priced guys, one-year guys, that so you can start working the compensatory pick game, and having JPP on this team next year, I think is where they're looking. And as a Bucs fan, that's where I'm looking to.
Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff from Rendax, a Pewtercast. Let's read some more comments here, and then I think we're going to get off, take a break here, eat a little bit. You see the wings and the fries.
I'll let you guys go ahead. I've had enough.
Rhett's been on break.
How about Rhett? How many wings have you had back there, buddy?
I think 5 or 6, maybe.
Okay, all right, that's still pretty good. Well, not you, Blake. We know you haven't missed any wing meals here at Fergs. Love you, brother. All right, let's see here. Read some more comments. Tom Moore is awesome. Where's Derek Jones? Blake needs more players on the show. We'll work on that, Johnny Dean.
Okay.
The professor,
said that?
Johnny Dean.
Calling me out. Oh,
Johnny Dean. Yeah.
I can work on that. It's just with this time in the season, they've got to do their stuff right now. But Frank should be back. Frank is definitely going to get on here. Frank has a whole lot of NFL information that could give you about any player that's been a rookie and gone through their program with him and John Gruden and Tom Shaw. That's why I thought it would be real important to get him on here and get his spin on that and how it's the off season and all that. So I'm working on that.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Somebody says Blake said penetration. Okay, he was talking football there, Johnny. Very funny. He's trolling today because no Corey Brown.
Yeah,
Corey Brown
Corey's working.
Yeah, Corey's working. We need to go.
Olive Garden.
Yeah, we need to go to his Olive Garden and troll him a little bit. Love Corey Brown. I'm one of the great fans here on the Sports Web and Blake Sports. Thanks to Ray Kennedy before for working the camera. He had to get out of here, but We had a full deck today. Probably have a full deck next week. Rendax, you're welcome anytime you want to come back, my friend.
I appreciate that. Have fun. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. We're not done yet, though. We're just going to read some more comments, and then we'll take a break. And then if you want to hang around, we'll definitely have you, and we'll talk more Bucks football with you guys here on Blake and Blake Sports Live on Bucks Report. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Corey's unavailable. Again, he's working. Gerald McCoy is my favorite Batman. I knew somebody was going to go there.
I'm waiting for it.
Okay. Will Rojo equal Kenny Gant? Kenny Gant? That's a special teams player. I don't know. I don't get that comment. If McCoy sacks Winston, will he apologize?
No.
There's been a lot of talk of him going to possibly the Carolina Panthers. Guys, what do you think of the possibility here? Is it going to be, will it be the Carolina Panthers? Will it be the Baltimore Ravens? Or will it be the Cleveland Browns at this point?
If you want to find that answer, check his wife's page. Because she seems to be the one talking about everything, about what's going on. Because McCoy ultimately, that's going to be up to the family. Everybody knows McCoy's a family man.
Yeah.
That's wherever they're most comfortable going.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Schwagler, Philip Schwagler's in the house. Red is loving those wings. He is. Sap and Sue will fight in camp.
Oh, Lord.
Wow, legendary.
Older now. That's not
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen.
now.
You did have. You want to get on the camera really quick? Come on. Got a fan here that came out. Just come around. Just come around here. Yeah. Get a fan. Get him on the mic there. All right. So you wanted to talk. What did you want to talk about here, sir? Sports related. It looks like you're. What are you, a Rays fan?
I'm a Rays fan.
Okay, go ahead and talk on that mic right there. Look, right there, we're live on Bucks Report, our 61,000 following on Blake and Blake Sports. What's your name, sir?
Brian McElroy.
Brian McElroy, come out here today as the Rays are...
To the Bucks Report?
Yes, absolutely, Bucks Report. So, you're a big-time Rays fan. Are you a Bucks fan?
I am a Bucks fan, although I am more of a Steelers fan.
More of a Steelers fan.
Gross,
and why are you more of a Steeler fan than a Bucks fan? I gotta know.
I'm the only member of my family born in the state of Florida. Everyone else is from Pennsylvania, so I was groomed.
I got you.
Hey, man,
It's a little different.
Let me ask, are you going to be at the preseason game this year, Pittsburgh Bucks?
I will try.
Yeah? I got my tickets earlier this week. My girlfriend's a diehard Pittsburgh fan. Her whole family is Pittsburgh.
Awesome.
So, yeah, man, we'll be up there. It'll be a good time.
There's no medium with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, you're
it's
in
hard.
Or you're out. Yeah.
All right, good stuff. And any chance that we can make you a Bucks fan here eventually?
I'm a Bucks fan.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you know the big time announcement here, the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television. During Buccaneer road games, we will be live here doing watch parties. So instead of staying home, you get to come out here, you get on camera. We'll have half, and also post-game shows with Bucks Report talent, Sports Web talent, guys that have been in the business like an Al Keck, possibly a Pat Yasinskis, a Leo Haggerty. Would you be apt to come out here and get on camera again?
Absolutely.
All right.
Sunny St. Pete, downtown.
Good stuff, good stuff. All right, so look in that camera again and tell them you've been on Bucks Report on Blake and Blake Sports.
My name is Brian McElroy, and I've been on Bucks Report on Blake and Blake Sports.
There you go. Good stuff. He nailed it. Thanks a lot for coming here. Out at Ferg's, live, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Blake Cabell, Rhett Matthew of Cannon Fire Podcast, and, of course, Rendax of Pewtercast. Thank you very much for coming back in here. Now, and, of course, this is brought to you by Sam Ash Music. 95 years of your musical needs. 926 McMullen Booth Road in Clearwater. Tom, the Sports Web, and Peter Blake sent you. And then, of course, the Ultimate Logo, 1812 Main Street in Dunedin. If you want to get your Bucks Report logo polo shirt, we definitely need to get you one here. I know you're representing Pewtercast, but look, when you come on Bucks Report, you're part of the family here on the Sports Web, Blake and Blake Sports, a Couple Ray, Red Flag Podcast, Cannon Fire podcast shows, all of them available for the 61,000 following. This is a fan's voice. You asked for it, you get it. There is not a Tampa Bay area show, radio or TV, that's doing what we're doing, talking to fans, getting out here in the public, and getting your analysis on your favorite sports teams in the Tampa Bay area and nationally. So there you go. All right. Red is, again, Let's see, let the bodies hit the floor. Absolutely. I hope JPP doesn't have got to play, I don't know, I guess he's player, got to play syndrome, decides to retire while he has a chance to live out a decent life. Eugene says, great show, guys. Of course, he came on the other night, a Buck What You Heard podcast. Rendax is in the house. Blake Cabell, what's up? Misador of the Indiana Buckaholics says Barber averages 3+ yards a carry, 2.3 yards after contact. Do the math. That tells me he has spent a lot of time getting hit in the backfield. That has been one of the main contentions of this offense. People will talk about and say it's on Jameis Winston. It's turnovers, stuff like that, but I believe it's also on the offensive line. 31.5 sacks since Winston has got here started. That's the average. And then no running game, even though Barber rushes for 800 yards. So, guys, tell me, give me your thoughts, Ren, first and foremost, about this offensive line. Alex Kappa or Earl Watford starting at right guard, and then DeMar Dotson, 2 years removed from the knee surgery. He should be healthy.
Yeah. Dot said he's feeling the best he's felt. He said he was actually injured most of last year. But, let's be realistic. The right side of the line is a little shaky. Kappa didn't look much better than Benenoch. And Benenoch, I think one person said it's irresponsible to keep him out there. That's how bad he was. But the point I wanted to make was about Barber. We talked about Rojo and how the line never blocked for him, and that's why he was so terrible at 21 carries and 44 total yards. Well, something that I think is extremely underrated for Peyton Barber, and I want fans to look for it this coming year, is Peyton Barber's jump step. That's why he got the 3-point yards.
Okay.
He would make that first guy miss that was basically standing directly in front of him when he got the ball at least 5 times a game. And this is something that I'm really behind Peyton Barber this year. Anytime Bruce Arians will go without being prompted, he'll talk about Peyton Barber. How good he praises the guy.
He reminds me of Ernest Graham.
That's a great comp.
And to me, that is a great comparison. And you talk about it.
Whatever to get the job done.
Right, running north and south. Nothing flashy.
Unselfish.
But he's got some explosive nature to him. But again, north and south, a guy that really doesn't fumble the ball a lot. Dependable back. I think he's been underrated, and it seems like Bruce Arians coming into he sees that. He believes that Peyton Barber can be a top 5 back, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, top 5.
You don't even have to be.
Yeah.
Let's be productive.
Top 5,
top 10.
Don't exactly need him to do
win.
that. But
Just
as
win. That's all I care.
As you said, somebody had brought up the stat. He averages a little over 3 yards a carry. At the end of the day, that's all you need. You need a guy that can pick you up 3 or 4 or 5 yards and brush off some tacklers, because I'd say over this past season and a half, he's been transitioning into this starter role a little bit more.
Yeah.
We've seen him kind of develop into a little bit of a power back. Like you said, Ernest Graham, big, heavy runner. He can shake guys off and get you 4 yards every single time. I'm here for it. And listen, Ronald Jones can develop. He can do what he has to do. He's a quick guy. Both of those guys can do some damage, but Peyton Barber, like you said, underrated is all hell.
And Peyton Barber doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires. If everybody knows anything about, which I hear you guys all say, it's because he only played 1 year at Auburn.
Sure.
And he had to leave for family reason. Much respected why he did that, and it worked out the best for him and his family. But when he first got in the league and started playing, those are essentially his junior and senior seasons, pretty much in college, so he's still getting better.
Hey,
we have yet to see the best of Peyton Barber.
And good on him as well. We saw just a couple of weeks ago, went back and got his degree, man. Absolutely. You'd love to see that.
And enjoy him this year. Like you said, he came out early, bet on himself to make a team, make some money, get his mom off the streets, buy her a house, which he's done.
Much
Whit
respected.
Matching graduated. You know what he did this year? He didn't take the contract extension. He didn't take this. He said, nope. He said, I want to be a free agent next year, and Bruce Arians coming in. So I'm telling you, enjoy him this year, because he might not be here next year.
Well, I tell you right now, with the added cap, if he produces and comes out and balls out, they definitely will give him an extension, but obviously he's betting on himself as he has throughout his career. It's a great story, and you hope that Mr. Barber can be productive in this offense to provide that balance, as we always talk about. I always say it, I'm a Libra. I believe in balance. You have to have that scale. If you have that balance to your offense.
Fano, settle down.
Will you shut up and be quiet?
Perfectly balanced.
That's right, balance right there, balance. There you go. And if you have that balance, then you can create that pass play action where you can have those deep plays down the field.
I
Also,
loved that last year, Peter.
Yeah.
We didn't run the ball and we ran play action. I used to love that.
yeah,
Every
because
time Dirk Cutter would run that.
they're looking
I'm like,
for
who are you fooling?
Right, you're not fooling
not running
anybody.
the ball.
Right, you're not fooling anybody.
I love when he do
No,
that.
no. All right, we'll read some more comments and then we're gonna get out of here, get some wings, and we'll probably come back for a little bit and talk more if you guys want to do that
Yeah, I gotta get home,
here.
get some sleep.
Okay. Well then, let me know if you guys want to come back or not. But we'll end it here. We'll end it in a little bit. Let's read some more comments and then we may come back. We may not. But thanks a lot for the support here live on Bucks Report, BucksReport.com. Let's see. Kenny Gant played special teams only because he couldn't pick up the playbook. Peter H. Ergo, the comparison with Rojo. Okay.
Comparing Rojo to nobody.
Understand.
He has no tape to compare him to.
There is a couple that is looking to walk into the shot. It's okay. We're here live on Bucks Report on Blake and Blake Sports. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Blake Cabell, Ren Dax of Pewtercast, and Rhett Matthew of Cannon Fire Podcast. And of course, I almost did 102.5 The Bone. I didn't. There you go. Just say no to Pittsburgh. That was to the fan there, Brian.
This is a strong football history.
Yes, they are very, very strong history and a legacy of great players. Steelers, boo. That's what Earl Harris says. Where's my shirt? Johnny Dean, we will definitely have to get you one.
Right?
Will you shut up and be quiet? Johnny Dean, the professor, actually in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Somebody says, Larry Lee says, got a block. Absolutely. Offensive line is the key to making the running and passing game great.
No, you don't say.
Football 101. Once again, I must emphasize we got rid of Warhop. Our offensive line should be improved. That is from the professor himself, Johnny Dean. I agree. Who's going to win the backup quarterback battle?
That's a tough one.
I believe it's going to be Blaine Gabbert here, guys, because he does know the offense. I don't think you bring him in here. He knows the offense. There's going to be some type of competition with Griffin, but I think he right now is the leader in the clubhouse. That's not to say it won't
Griffin
change.
comes through the pack.
Okay. Ren, what do you think?
I've been a Griffin guy. I got so mad on my podcast. Remember when there was a undrafted free agent guard that missed a block, and then in the Cincinnati preseason game, and the guy had like a 15-yard head start and blasted Griffin, laying on his shoulder, and he was out.
Sure.
Oh, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
This last year was the
Yeah.
first time he actually got to finish the preseason.
Yeah,
And he was playing well. I know what you're talking about.
that guy's name was Cole Gardner. Cole Gardner. I used to be like, Cole Gardner, because I'm a Griffin guy. I want this guy to get in and get a snap. For the last couple of games last year, I was just like, Cutter, come on, man. Just let Griff get in there. He's looked lights out in preseason. He has. Now, last year, they all did. You know, Jameis looked the best, then Griffin, then Fitzpatrick. But they all looked really, really good.
Okay.
So I'm pulling for Ryan Griffin just because he's my guy.
Yeah.
You know, do I think Gabbert has a little bit of a leg up because he knows the offense? Yes, I do. Bruce Arians pretty much said it much at the owners' meetings. We're like, well, it's not really much of a competition after they just signed Gabbert, but
We'll see.
Griffin.
Okay.
I think it's I think
I
it's
need a
easy.
pin. I want a pin. Like,
Team Griffin.
I'm Team Griffin. Yeah.
I think it's easy to look at Ryan Griffin in the same point that you made, man. At the end of the day, he's kind of homegrown talent. He hasn't played a snap, but he's played every year here. Yeah, he's one of our guys.
I mean, if
You wanna
Sean
see him
Payton
do
Hold
well.
that mic up there.
our guy.
Yeah,
if
that's
Sean
it. There you
Payton
go.
wanted you, then, you know, you got some talent throwing the football.
Yeah.
Okay, good stuff, guys. Read some more comments, and then again we will get off there, and we'll decide if we're going to come back or not. Are we going to come back, or are we just going to end it here?
I'm game.
You going to game? You
I'm
want to
game.
stay out for a little bit because I want to get his thoughts on what he's seen out in camp. So you stay for a little bit.
I gotta head home. I'm tired.
All right, we'll get you on for a little bit, or we'll figure this out here.
Do 12 hours.
Oh, okay, I got you. Let's see, Libra's rule. In fact, Libra, the head Libra is going to be Bruce Arians, who's the coach of this team. So there you go. Eugene says, I'll balance you through a table. Peter H. Blake, not on your life, Eugene Thomas. I don't believe there is a battle, and Gabbert knows the scheme. So I tell you what, let's go ahead, get some final thoughts from you, Ren, and we'll go down the line here. So, Ren, what's your final thoughts?
Yeah, well, it was really fun to be here. Thanks so much for having me on. I'll have to check with my girl if I can come back on, but if you want to talk about OTAs, I'll make it happen. You know, I think, and this is something that I asked around, sort of when I talked about earlier how we got walled off during the 11-on-11 and 7-on-7, you couldn't see anything. That was sort of my time to go and say hi to everybody, say hi to the Almonds and the Cooks and the Reynolds and the Isbits and talk to those guys and sort of bounce some questions off them. And it's pretty much universal, and I think the fans are feeling it too. This is the year we're going to find out if it's the players or the coaches.
Yep.
And so that's what we're looking for. You know, not a lot have been brought in. I mean, we just brought in Sue. But before him, it was what? Shaq Barrett, and no one even knew who the hell he was.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he was the big bring-in.
Poor man's Von Miller.
Yeah, everybody gets a draft class.
Sure.
You know, everyone's got new shiny toys to play with. So we're going to find out if it was, you know, Lovie Smith / Dirk Cutter's coaching staff, or Jason Light players are the ones that are 5-11. We're going to find out real quick.
All right, Blake.
It's hard to follow. That's hard. That's definitely a hard one to follow right there. I'm with him. I'm really looking forward to this off season. I'm really looking forward to see how this team pairs up with the head coaching and the defensive coordinators and all the other coaches we brought in, because we brought up how many coaches are out there. 2 female coaches that we haven't really talked about much.
No, we haven't.
And they've been putting in work.
Male cheerleader.
Yep. Yes, and the male cheerleader first.
Equality,
Right?
equality, everybody.
First
Yes,
first.
yes.
First in the-
Hey,
If I had your name, I'd put it up right now. I'll be ready next Saturday. I'm gonna put it out there.
somebody's saying go Twins when they're coming. What are you doing here? Go ahead.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward. Optimistic this season. Looking forward to a change.
Update on that score really quick.
3-1 at the Knicks in the second intermission.
All right, so 3-1 Rays. Rep Matthew, go ahead. Twins? Is it the Twins?
Twins. It's twins.
3-1 Twins. You're killing me. He said
The Knicks
Knicks.
ain't winning anything.
Will you shut up? Go ahead.
Just like you guys had said, again, hard to follow, but this is going to be a year where a lot of things are going to matter much more than they have ever before. You know, we were talking headed into last season, it's going to matter about Dirk Cutter. We'd even said on Cannon Fire podcast earlier last year, Evan had put out a take. He said, listen, I think even if they tank this year, of course Cutter's going to be gone, but there's a feeling that Light's going to stick around. There's a lot more on the line for Jason Light this year. We had talked about last week, all of his guys need to perform, but it's going to be interesting, and this is what I want to kind of shoehorn into my final thoughts here. It's going to be interesting to see these things translate to Tampa Bay football, because Ndamukong Suh has his way of doing things. It's going to be interesting to see that translate into what he does in Tampa. Ronald Jones didn't get a good shot last year. He'll get a shot this year. Let's see how that translates. So there's a lot of things up in the air, but there's a lot of really, really important things on the line this year for a lot of people's jobs. And then, of course, the short-term guys that you bring in to help out this year. So it'll be interesting. But, yeah, man, I'm excited.
And I think a lot of people are excited. It's been an interesting show here live at Ferg's on Central Avenue, 1320 Central Avenue. Whether you want to watch the Tampa Bay Rays, the Tampa Bay Lightning, or, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, get out here. Great concert tonight as they're going to have Caskey with Black for Sheep starting at 6 o'clock. For Rendax of Pewtercast, Blake Cabell, Blake and Blake Sports, Rep Matthew of Cannon Fire Podcast. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Everybody together, giving you something to think about. We'll see you next time, guys.